Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. This is Ticket to the Hizzy Fantasy Football TITTH number 17. I am Justin Bruni, your host. Today we're going to be covering our Week 8 must-starts, who we're plugging in our lineup this week for sure, as we approach the halfway portion of the fantasy football season. I hope many of you are finding success out there in your rankings or in your standings thus far. And if you're not, if it's time to come on strong for the second half, I'll be here. I'm your guy. Tonight, it's Thursday. Good morning to you. We got Thursday night football tonight. Vikings hosting the Redskins. Should be a favorable matchup for the Vikings and the fantasy options that are available there. Adam Thielen will be out tonight, so plugs in a little bit more availability maybe for the tight end, some Olabisi Johnson for the Vikings, and of course you'll be starting Stephon Diggs for sure. On the Washington side of things, not really sure who you want to start there. Case Keenum, a really deep quarterback for maybe like a super flex type of play. Vikings have still been getting burned in the air some. Chris Thompson's out tonight. He would have been the guy that I'd be looking at. Chris Thompson. Adrian Peterson is questionable, so maybe you're looking at Wendell Smallwood. Wendell Smallwood might be a play for you in some deeper formats tonight if you have to plug and play somebody. And then Terry McLaurin and Paul Richardson Jr. at wide receiver. I think they could be live plays tonight. I think they should definitely get maybe some props. I think that the Vikings are going to be up. Washington Redskins will be chasing points. Redskins defense has been okay the past couple of weeks. They played the Niners in the rain, in a torrential rain last week. So there was like literally no points scored on either side, all field goals, I believe. And then the week before that, they played Miami. So the defense has been inflated a little bit, but I still like the Vikings in this one. Over under tonight is 42. I'm going to take the over on that. I do think that the Redskins might be able to score a touchdown and maybe a couple of field goals on a short week. It could work either way, right? On a short week and you're playing on the road and, your offense isn't that great in general. It could get slowed down some, but I like the over. 42, I think, is just a little bit too low for this game. I do think like I said, the Redskins could score maybe like 13, maybe 16 points even. I think that's like their ceiling. But I've seen as low as like predictions is like only them scoring 3 to 6. So I do like that over. I think it's just a little bit too low. Maybe they're teasing me. I don't know. Ram the over there. While it's still early, if you're catching this early in the day, that number may actually go up. I'll definitely be looking for some live in-game props for McLaurin, maybe even Keenum, maybe with like some completions or something like that. We'll see. I like the Vikings. Give me the over there. Let's just jump right into the must-starts here. We're looking at quarterbacks right now. So quarterbacks, first up, I have Matthew Stafford hosting the Giants this week. So Kerryon Johnson to the IR was really the identity of their offense, being that strong power runner, and that's really the direction that they wanted to go with. And they're not going to be able to take the same direction with J.D. McKissic and Ty Johnson. I'm sure a lot of you went out there and spent some fob money on Ty Johnson, but I don't think that you can expect the same type of volume that Kerryon was getting. I do think that McKissic and Johnson are going to just split it up right down the middle. I do see a little bit more value for Johnson as his upside is just visually, the eye test is there. McKissic, we've seen him before. He gets moved around the league a little bit, and he's just kind of like that tool scat back type of player. So I think maybe like Ty Johnson having maybe a little bit more question marks around him, people not knowing as much about him, they may be rushing to him a little bit more. But I think that we're going to see, very similar usage out of both of them, 8 to 10 carry marks, 2 to 4 catches, somewhere in there. It's just going to be split right down the middle. I'm not sure either one of them, gets a ton of volume unless they just completely outwork the other, which I don't really see happening at this time. So I do see the Lions offense needing to go more pass heavy, lean on Stafford a little bit more. The Giants are allowing the 15th most fantasy points to the quarterback position, so there's some upside there. Allowing the 7th most yards in the air, and seventh most yards in the air, and 7th most yards per completion. Sorry, I couldn't get that one out. Their QBR rating on average is a 98 to the quarterback position. So I like Matthew Stafford hosting the Giants. I think that game had a higher game total as well. So I think Vegas was, kind of giving us some good signs here. Yeah, 49 game total for that game. So I like that. I think that both sides could score plenty of points. I might be taking, in fact, the over in that game. We'll see as we get closer to Sunday. But I do like both sides to score points. going to be a good amount of passing from both sides, even with the Giants still having Saquon Barkley back. I do think that it'll be more of like a shootout style game. So I do want Matt Stafford in that spot. Fire up some Matthew Stafford this week, and his ROS value for the rest of the year is just really strong, guys. With carry on out, I do think that they need to kind of retool, get a new, not get a new identity, but just, avert, you switch up to more passing and get more aggressive, because they're going to fall behind in that division, more sooner than later. So, fire up Matt Stafford this week. I like him a lot. Next up, we have Kirk Cousins tonight with the Redskins. A revenge game for Cousins. The last time the Redskins and Minnesota played each other, Case Keenum was the quarterback for the Vikings, and Kirk Cousins was the quarterback for the Redskins. Complete flip-flop. So nice spot for Kirk Cousins, a little revenge game. I would love at the end of the game if we got a "you like that," a little "you like that." That'd be great. I would really appreciate that. But anyways, Redskins are allowing the 8th most touchdowns in the air, so some upside there. Their rushing defense is really bad. Obviously, you're starting Dalvin Cook every week. I don't need to mention that to you, but Dalvin Cook should have a good night tonight. But Kirk Cousins is hot. He's got 10 passing touchdowns and 2 interceptions in the last 3 games. He's going to continue to get used. The passing offense is still going to be there. And if the Redskins really focus in on the run, if they just bail out to take that away from them, there could be a little bit more upside for Cousins than I'm still anticipating. Like I mentioned, the Redskins, their defense have played, well, at least statistically on paper, the past 2 weeks. But you had the Niners game in that torrential rain, and then you had Miami Dolphins the week before that. So I don't think that the Redskins are going to sneak in on Thursday Night Football on a short week and play outstanding defense. I like Kirk Cousins a lot this week. I understand that Adam Thielen isn't going to be there. His best target, probably his favorite target. But Stephon Diggs will have a good game. Olabisi Johnson is, spoiler, he'll be a must start on this list. You're starting Diggs. I think you absolutely need to start Olabisi Johnson. He was getting more playing time, even with Thielen in the lineup. Now, obviously, if you look at his numbers, the stats aren't there. It's like, 4 to 5 targets a game or something like that. But when you're getting on the field more and more, as a receiver, you're earning that, especially with guys like Thielen and Diggs there, holding you back. They're on the field, 90 plus percentage or 90% of the time plus, every game. So I like Olabisi Johnson tonight. I like Kirk Cousins. QBR rating on average for the Redskins allowed is 96. Like I'd mentioned, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions last 3 weeks. He's just hot. I want everybody that I can really for the Vikings tonight. So give me Cousins, give me Olabisi Johnson. Redskins just in a bad spot on a short week. And I do think that they get exposed again as, being a pretty bad defense. Just they stink, right? They're just not very good. So I think they get exposed again this week. They've had a couple of lighter weeks, like I've mentioned, with the Dolphins and the 49ers rain game. So fire up Kirk Cousins tonight. No concerns whatsoever. Fire him up Thursday Night Football. Home quarterback on a short week. I like that as well. Josh Allen next up, hosting the Eagles, playing one of the worst secondaries in the game this year with Philly coming to town. Their QBR rating on average against the quarterback is 93. 7th most touchdowns allowed. The only quarterback not to have success up against the Eagles was Luke Falk. Every other quarterback that's ran into the Eagles has scored fantasy points. I think the second worst performance was Matt Ryan, and he had 3 interceptions, but he also had 3 passing touchdowns. So, there's not too many quarterbacks other than Luke Falk that are getting stopped by this Eagles defense. I like him this week. I think that they may have to pass a little bit more. The Eagles are a little bit stronger up against the run. So I do see the upside being there for Josh Allen this week. Fire him up, full confidence, no concerns. And the Bills, they're just rolling. I believe they've only lost 1 or 2 games. I'm not sure their record. I think it's 5-2. I could be wrong, but they've looked good this year regardless. Either way. So I like the Bills this year. I like Josh Allen. John Brown coming up here. You're going to want to pair these guys that I'm talking about with their wide receivers, of course. So I like Josh Allen this week. Fire him up, no concern whatsoever. Really like his spot with Philly. Gotta love it. Next up, Ryan Tannehill. Time for Tannehill. I've been calling for it since the preseason, week 1, week 2, whatever. I've been saying that this is the guy for their offense for a while now. So he had that 3 touchdown performance last week. Nice to see. He's hosting the Bucs this Sunday. The Bucs are coming off of a bye and their England game or London game, whatever. Whatever it is, there's like this London hangover. I've read some articles about it. There's some history behind it, and teams that come back from London they don't perform well. And it's not just the next game; it's like the whole year. I was doing like some deep diving into this, and they're dating this back, I think, as early as like 2013 or 2014, and teams' records and their success, after coming off of London games and things like that. Regardless, in the near term, in the recency bias, you look at the Bears coming off of their London game, terrible. You look at the Raiders coming off of their London game, terrible. So I'm going to keep rolling with this. I'm gonna play against the Bucs this week. I'm going to fade all Bucs this week. No Winston, no Evans, no Godwin. I don't want any of them really, but I do want the quarterback that's going up against that defense. So fire up some Ryan Tannehill this week. I do think he's in a good spot for another great performance. Could easily hit 3 passing touchdowns again this week. The Bucs have allowed the 6th most yards in the air, averaging a QBR rating of 92 against. More upside for Tannehill. There's no real big threat to stop Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, Adam Humphries this week. There's no one that we're really afraid of. And that Bucs defense are in the secondary. So I like Ryan Tannehill this week, and I'll get to the receivers here in a second. I'll be firing all of them up too. But just the defense is just really bad for the Bucs. They started off pretty well. Kind of gave us a little hint that they might be something that they're not, but they are who we thought they were. The Bucs defense is still really bad. Like I said, averaging a 92 QBR rating against. Like Ryan Tannehill this week, all the upside there for him. Another really good matchup coming off of a good performance. Playing at home, all signs point to his start this week. If you haven't grabbed him, if he's still available in your league, go and get him. I was talking to you guys about Tannehill last week about being a potential option for replacing Mahomes. I've seen that. I've seen people add Tannehill because they have Mahomes out. So I hope you're doing the same if you're in need of him. Fire up Ryan Tannehill at home with the Buccaneers this week. All confidence there. Next up, I kind of have a tie. And the guy that got tied out was Mitch Trubisky. But Mitch Trubisky and Teddy Bridgewater are like neck and neck for my 5th guy. And I know there's some negative rhetoric right now for Mitch Trubisky, the Bears. They're throwing way too much. They only ran 5 or 6 times, things like that. But I do think that Mitch Trubisky is in a good spot. I don't have all the numbers right in front of me to back it up because when I was looking at back and forth, I had to go with Bridgewater just because he's playing the Cardinals. Like come on, let's get real here. The Cardinals are terrible. But a little bit with Mitch Trubisky. Playing the Chargers this week, I think they are in a big spot for a rebound game. I do think that they balance out the run. The Chargers aren't one of the best teams against the run. They're, I think, allowing the 11th most yards in the league. That's just off the top of my head, 11th most yards in the league to the run on the ground. So there's some upside there for Cohen and Montgomery this week. I think that they'll have better performances and they'll get used more in the run game. But because the run game will have success, the passing game will have even more success. Mitch will be able to be more efficient as long as they can establish the run and they can balance things out. So I like Mitch this week a lot. Just didn't make the list. He's just kind of edged out. Obviously there's big names out there that you're never going to sit. The Russ Wilsons, the Tom Bradys, and things like that. But these guys are guys that maybe just in the inkling of the back of your head. I can't start them. Maybe it's not there on paper. Maybe it's too good to be true. Things like that. So absolutely firing in Mitch Trubisky this week. Just outside that top 5 for the guys that I want to put on this list. So to Teddy Bridgewater, who I really like a lot, is playing with the Cardinals this week, hosting the Cardinals. Cardinals secondary, it stinks, still really bad. Patrick Peterson is there. He did have a sack last week, no interceptions, handful of tackles, like 7 or 8 tackles. So Patrick Peterson back in the mix of things. But you know what? He's still coming off the couch, guys. I'm certain he's not just been sitting on the couch. He's been doing his thing, but he hasn't been with the team all season until about a week and a half ago. So still like the upside there. I still think Michael Thomas has his heyday. I don't think that Patrick Peterson is going to beat the brakes off of Michael Thomas. I think that there's still plenty of upside for him this week. Kamara should be back. Jared Cook sidelined in Wednesday practice, but could be back as well. We'll see. But there should be more weapons available for Bridgewater this week. If Kamara is there, you had Lat Murray playing well last week. Lat Murray will still be included in the offense. He definitely did enough last week to where they're going to keep feeding him the ball some, even with Kamara back. So more weapons there for Bridgewater in a good spot. Another game total of 49. So Vegas does think that the Cardinals are going to score some points here. I like Teddy Bridgewater, 2 or 3 touchdowns, flirting with 300 passing yards this week. Cardinals are just really bad, guys. They've allowed the most touchdowns in the league. I believe the most yards. Bridgewater's been hot. I think it's just a really good spot. Playing at home, it's not a friendly place to go and play if you're the Cardinals. Cardinals could be without David Johnson again. Chase Edmonds is not going to be able to do the same work that he did on the ground last week against the Bears, up against this rushing defense for the Saints in New Orleans. Not going to happen. Cardinals allowing a QBR rating of 106 on average, so really like the spot for Teddy Bridgewater. Just one more side note about Mitch Trubisky. The QBR rating for the Chargers that they're letting up on average was also over 100. The number doesn't come to me right off the top of my head, but it's pretty high. So there should be efficiency there for him this week. I really like Teddy Bridgewater. Mitch Trubisky, like I said, is kind of a bonus. And then Ryan Tannehill, Josh Allen, Kirk Cousins, and Matthew Stafford this week. Fire up all those quarterbacks. No concern. All the confidence in the world. They're going to be fantasy producers for you this Sunday and Thursday night for Kirk Cousins. Okay, moving on to the wide receivers. First up, Allen Robinson, right? Allen Robinson, I told you to start Mitch Trubisky. You're going to fire up Allen Robinson as well. Another player that's just really, really hot right now. 25 targets and 3 touchdowns in his past 2 games. Got to love the production. Got to love the volume that's going his way. Chargers don't allow a ton of yards through the air. They're kind of like middle of the road, just kind of middle of the field as far as passing defenses go. But I do like Robinson to get a touchdown in this game. Maybe even 2. Bears should be aggressive for a win this week. My God, I hope they are. Oh, my goodness. No garbage time touchdowns. I think that they're in this game all the way through. So give me Allen Robinson this week. Just playing a hot hand. The other receivers there aren't doing enough for me. Cohen's not getting used in the passing game enough as I'd like. He did get some last week. Maybe he gets a little bit more this coming week. But Allen Robinson is just the guy there. He's the guy to own. And there obviously is volume there with Nagy, not balancing out the run. Even if he does run more this week, how much more can you run other than 5 or 6 times? It's not like the Bears are going to come out and run 30 times this week. You know what I mean? So I still expect there to be a good amount of volume there for Allen Robinson. Fire him up. No concern. All the confidence there. Okay, next up is Kenny Stills with the Texans. They are hosting the Raiders this week. Obviously, with Will Fuller going down, there's a good amount of value available for Kenny Stills, a lot of upside. He should be playing a lot more. Will Fuller was playing about 90% of the snap counts, so Kenny Stills should be plugging into that spot, pretty quickly. Bill O'Brien was talking him up a ton, even when he was limited in practice for weeks. The Raiders are allowing the 10th most passing yards. The Packers hosed them last week. MVS, Allison, Jake Kumro, Jimmy Graham. I'm sure there was Alan Lazard. I'm sure there's someone else I'm missing there that that was able to burn them for big plays or a touchdown last week. So yeah, love the upside for Kenny Stills. Raiders secondary not looking great. Should be playing a lot more. I understand Kiki Kute is there behind him. That's really the only threat to Kenny Stills not scoring a touchdown this week. I do believe Kenny Stills scores a touchdown this week. Pretty firm on that. That's why he's on the list. So yeah, fire him up. No concern whatsoever. I like his spot, playing a lot and playing against the Raiders, who just got hosed, and they are going on the road again with the trip to Houston. Okay, next up, John Brown. Pairing with Josh Allen. Eagles allowing the 3rd most yards to wide receivers and through the air, 7th most touchdowns allowed. Secondary just looks really bad. They're not very good. And there's just also a lot of rhetoric and talk that the Eagles as an organization and as a team, they just don't have it together right now. There's talk about guys, missing team meetings, coming late to practices. When they are on the field for practice, they're like very lackadaisical, they're just, where am I? What's going on here? I'm not sure if you guys saw the highlight of Nelson Aguilar just like straight up giving up on a catch. He's like, running, putting my hands out. I don't want to catch it. It's really weird. I don't understand what's going on with them. Maybe it's a mental thing. Maybe it's something in the locker room. Maybe it's the coaching. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but nothing too appetizing about the Philly defense right now. Carson Wentz, good amount of value there for him, just because his defense is bad and he's got to fight for points. But I like John Brown this week. I like really all the receivers up against Philly, but John Brown has the most upside, being that number 1 guy, being able to create separation. Beasley there, could clean up underneath, but I like John Brown to have the biggest day there for the Bills. I think he'll have a bigger day than the ground guys, Devin Singletary and Gore too. So John Brown's the guy to start there against Philly this week. Obviously, secondary's just been really bad. The proof is in the pudding. They can't pass an eye test to save their life. So next up, Tennessee receivers, all of them. I don't love Corey Davis for the rest of the season. I do think he's going to have some some tighter matchups. He's not a guy right now that I feel super confident in starting every week, even with Tannehill at quarterback. But it's just the right spot this week. Facing the Buccaneers, like I said in the rundown for Tannehill. Just teams historically playing bad after the London games. Their defense is already really bad to begin with. They don't really have a ton of playmakers in their secondary. So I like Corey Davis this week. I like A.J. Brown, and I like Adam Humphries. I was able to pick up A.J. Brown surprisingly last week in a league, so I was pretty happy about that. Got to spot start him. Adam Humphries, I think, is a spot start this week. I do think there is value up against him. The Bucs again are allowing the sixth most yards in the air, and are good against the run. They're like the best team against the run and stopping the run. So there should be more upside for these receivers rather than Derrick Henry this week. Obviously, Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry. He's a monster. He's the Terminator. So he could still clean up and maybe even grab a touchdown. But like I said, the Buccaneers are allowing the least amount of yards on the ground. Plenty more upside for the receivers this week. Fire up Davis. Fire up A.J. Brown, and fire up Adam Humphries. No concerns whatsoever. All the confidence there. Next man up, Olabisi Johnson. I like me some Olabisi Johnson tonight. Thursday night football. Adam Thielen is out. Availability equaling some production. Same as going with the Kenny Stills approach. Like him to catch a TD tonight. Handful of catches. Cousins has been hot. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, I've pretty much covered it all. Thursday night football, short week at home. Like the offense more than I do the defense on the road. So yeah, fire up some Olabisi Johnson tonight. If you have added him anywhere, it may be the 1 week that you could start him. So fire him up this week. Kind of the same approach that I had to Allen Lazard last week. May have been the only week that you could use him. If you're going to pick him up, throw him in that lineup. So Olabisi Johnson, get him in your lineups for tonight. Like I said, Cousins has been hot. Redskins defense coming back down to earth. Short week on a Thursday night. Let's go. Fire him up. Okay, next to the running backs. First up, we have Melvin Gordon, who I told you not to start last week. But Melvin Gordon, who I wouldn't actually start this week if the matchup wasn't right, playing the Bears. The Bears have been getting ran over the last 3 games. Well, I don't have it right in front of me, but off the top of my head, was it Josh Jacobs, Lat Murray? I'm forgetting somebody else. I don't know why. But yeah, they're getting hosed. The Bears are sorely missing Akeem Hicks. They are sorely missing him. That rush defense, can't stop anything right now. Melvin Gordon found the end zone last week. He's going to find the end zone this week on the ground. Bears have allowed 6 rushing touchdowns in the last 3 games. Before that, they had allowed 5 total since Khalil Mack had showed up. That's crazy. That's crazy. The volatility with Akeem Hicks out on that defensive line. It's just really bad. It's not good. It's not a good spot for the Bears. And that's really the best strategy, is to run the ball down the throat of the Bears. You're hurting their defense by keeping them on the field. You're protecting your defense by keeping them on the sideline. They're getting rest. And so when the Bears offense comes back on, they got no chance up against a well-rested defense right now. So yeah, that's the formula to beat the Bears right now, is to run it down their throats. And the Chargers, despite any signs of concern of Melvin Gordon, despite any bad play that he's had, they're just like running him downhill over and over and over. All right, fine. If you're going to do it again, this is the week to do it up against the Bears that are just really bad up against the run in the past 3 games. So firing up Melvin Gordon this week, absolutely. I like him to score a touchdown, maybe even 2. Next up is Miles Sanders. Not a favorable rushing matchup, at Buffalo, in Buffalo. But I just think that means more versatility needed out of the Philadelphia Eagles offense. And Jordan Howard is just not going to be able to provide it this week up against a really stiff, tight Buffalo rushing defense. I don't think there's going to be a lot of availability for Jordan Howard this week. Yes, he does have more rushing touchdowns than Miles Sanders has red zone touches. I get that. I understand there's some more value for Howard in that aspect, but Sanders is going to catch balls out of the backfield. He's caught 3, 4, and 4 the past 3 weeks. So there's going to be value for him in the passing game. I do like him to catch a touchdown in this game. I think Alshon Jeffrey is going to get tied up. Deshaun Jackson is still out. Zach Ertz is going to get tied up. Zach Ertz maybe have a little bit more upside, because I do think Jeffrey is going to be the guy that they take out of the passing game. So I like Ertz and I like Sanders and I like Wentz in this game for the Eagles, but I honestly like Sanders the most. I just believe that they're going to need his versatility out of the backfield to move the chains and stay competitive in this game. Maybe he doesn't come off for a big first half stat line, but I think that the Eagles are chasing points or trying to win this game, late in the fourth quarter or in the second half, or one or the other. Like I said, chasing points or, just trying to, drive the ball down the field. I think Miles Sanders is the X factor for them to get a win this week. If they're going to pull off a W and look at the spread, Vegas thinks that the Eagles have a chance this week. And I don't know if it's just Buffalo and the way that they've been playing, but right now, the Eagles are a live option in Buffalo. So if they're going to win this game, I think Miles Sanders is going to have to play a big part of it and be a versatile piece for them out of the backfield. So I'm pretty confident starting him up this week. On paper, it doesn't look great. Maybe it looks like more of a contrarian pick, but I like him. Fire him up this week. He's someone I'm absolutely getting into lineups. Next up, Sony Michele, another hot hand coming off of a 3-touchdown performance up against the Jets. The Browns are allowing the 5th most rushing yards allowed. They're averaging 5 yards against per carry. So I'm expecting a lot of run from the Pats. They just let go of Josh Gordon. May he rest in peace. That sucks. Had him in a spot. I actually traded for him the second that Tyreek Hill got hurt. I had like Tyreek Hill in like 3 leagues, so I'm like, let's move him somewhere. Let's switch it up in one spot. So I traded those guys like dead even, like almost the same day that Tyreek Hill got hurt. And now I'm screwed. I'm screwed in that spot because now Gordon's to the IR. They're going to be running a little bit more, I think, just off of the get-go, right out of the gate, because Mohamed Sanu may not be so downloaded on the playbook yet. We're seeing a lot of trades right now. Mohamed Sanu, a great ad for them, by the way, and I do think it boosts a guy like Sony Michele because Mohamed Sanu was playing the most snaps for the Falcons based off of run blocking. They wanted to try and establish the run, and they were using Mohamed Sanu the most for that. So I think Mohamed Sanu is in a great spot coming over to the Patriots. He's going to be a big piece for them, should be on the field a lot, and he's going to help out their run game a lot. So if he's on the field for this game against Cleveland, I believe it's going to be more blocking assignment based, and it's going to be with the strategy to round out the rushing game. So a lot of upside against Cleveland on the ground here. Sony Michele has gotten 20 touches in his last 3 games. Just a little asterisk there. 3 games ago, it was like 19 touches. So, pretty close. Had 6 red zone touches last week. A lot of upside for him. So fire up Sony Michele this week. No concern whatsoever. Okay, next up is Philip Lindsay. This is, again, more of a contrarian pick, kind of similar to the Miles Sanders. The rushing defense is there. I think that they're going to need 11-man personnel more often than not up against the Colts. So I think that Philip Lindsay is the pick this week over Freeman. The Colts are allowing 4.9 yards per carry. That's tied for 4th worst in the league. So there is some upside there. It's just the issue is with that stat is the number of attempts on them is so much lower than other teams, like in that same area, in that same space. Like I want to say there's like 183 rushing attempts against for the Colts, and some of these other teams, like the Browns that I just mentioned, it's closer to like 240 or 250 attempts. So it's just a little bit different. Teams haven't run on the Colts as much, and that's because their rushing defense has been pretty good. They've only allowed 4 rushing touchdowns so far this year. So I do like Philip Lindsay in some more passing options, some more 11-man personnel sets. And you have Emmanuel Sanders that's just departed. Obviously, you still have Manny Sanders, number 2. Deshaun Hamilton, Bayshawn, should have a little bit more value now. But this week specifically, I see Philip Lindsay having a little bit more value than Deshaun Hamilton. I think he'll get used in the pass game pretty similarly to Hamilton. And for a running back, I think that speaks pretty loudly. So I think that he'll get a few more looks this week in the passing game, a little bit more upside with one established pass catcher out the door and another up-and-comer right behind him, right? So I think they may lean on the run a little bit more. I do like Lindsay more than Freeman this week just because, Freeman, early down back type of guy, red zone type of threat. I think that the Colts, really have a good day against him, and Philip Lindsay is more used in the change of pace, 11-man sets, with the Broncos potentially chasing points, playing from behind in the second half. Again, very similar to my Miles Sanders take. Good rushing defense, but you need somebody in that backfield that's going to provide you some versatility and help you move the chain. So I like Philip Lindsay this week. Fire him up. Okay, next up I have Tevin Coleman with the 49ers hosting the Panthers. Carolina allowing 4.7 yards per carry. Coleman's had 20 touches in his last 2 games. He's been rolling, since he's been back, and he's getting a ton of usage in the red zone. That's where Breida is really lacking right now. So 6 red zone rushes in the past 2 weeks for Tevin Coleman, and 4 red zone targets 2 weeks ago. It means they tried 4 passes to him in the red zone, and in that very same game, he also had 6 red zone rushes. So I like his usage a lot more than Breida right now. Breida's still a really good option in fantasy. I do like Coleman's value a little bit more this week. I think Coleman is a little bit of a better matchup up against the strong linebacking core for the Panthers, Shaq Thompson, Luke Kuechly. I think that Coleman's going to be more of a threat up against those guys. Breida, more of like a downhill type of runner, does catch some balls out of the backfield here and there. But I do like Coleman's versatility this week up against the Panthers. I'm firing him up. He's been hot, getting a lot of touches, getting a lot of usage. And that offense in general has just been focused on the run. So I think we have to really appreciate that and kind of trend with that direction and, take our pick from Coleman and Breida, who's going to be the best option for them, week to week. If you own both of them, I wouldn't try, getting cute and starting both of them. I would just try to, try and pick the best matchup, how the defense is best oriented to the play that you have, whether it be Coleman or Breida. Teams like the Browns or the Bengals, I would be all over starting Breida. Teams like the Panthers, the Colts, what's another one? Even like the Eagles, I would be all over starting more of like the scat back. The guy that can hit outside the numbers. That isn't just going to be diving right down the middle. Hoping and praying for a couple of yards. So fire up Tevin Coleman this week. I think he's a lock for a very good performance hosting Carolina, which should be a pretty good game. Should be a good matchup. Lastly, we have the tight ends here. So we got Jimmy Graham going to the Chiefs. I like him in that spot. Devontae Adams still potentially out, but could potentially be in. I do downgrade Jimmy Graham's value a little bit with Devontae Adams being back. Even if he does come back, and even when he does come back into the lineup, I do expect a little bit of a workload management for him. Right? They've missed him a lot of games, and I don't think they want to miss him for many more. So when they have the opportunity to get him back, I think they're going to do it right and they're going to take care of him. I'm just not sure yet if he's going to be on the field this Sunday. I do like Jimmy Graham. He did catch a touchdown in that hosing of Oakland last week. Kansas City has allowed the 9th most fantasy points to the tight end position, and they've allowed the 7th most catches to receivers or pass catchers on the year. So I like Jimmy Graham's value in that spot, playing in Kansas City, Sunday night game, I believe. So give me another Jimmy Graham touchdown this week. I like him to catch another touchdown with Devontae Adams out, as long as Devontae Adams is out. Next up, I got Jonnu Smith. Delaney Walker only played 5 snaps last week, was taken out of that game. He was sitting out of practice Wednesday. All the signs are pointing to Jonnu Smith playing this week. The Buccaneers are allowing the 2nd most fantasy points to the tight end position with guys like Mark Andrews out. Hell, even like Jason Witten's out this week. You can't even plug him in and play. There's just some buys this week. We're getting deeper into the buys where there's going to be more limited options at the tight end position. We're seeing injuries at the tight end position. So there's very limited availability, really. We just saw Delaney Walker go down. I'm telling you to plug in his backup, Jonnu Smith. So obviously there's volatility at the position. I like Jonnu Smith right now this week and potentially going forward if there's some real risk or injury for Delaney Walker. Jonnu Smith was the guy that they used last year, had some success, knows the playbook, is very familiar with the weapons around him. Obviously, you have Tannehill in there, who I'm talking about, upgrading all of the weapons. So yeah, this week I'm firing up every pass catcher there. A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, Adam Humphries. Pretty much in that order is how I like them. So yeah, fire up some Jonnu Smith up against the Bucs. I like that matchup. Next up, Thursday Night Football, going back to it. Kyle Rudolph came alive last week with Thielen out, had 6 targets, caught a touchdown. Gotta like the upside. I'm not sure that every one of these guys scores a touchdown tonight. Diggs, Rudolph, Olabisi Johnson, Dalvin Cook. Obviously, that's probably not going to happen, but the reality does exist. But no, that's probably not going to happen. It's football. Anything can happen. So that's why I say the reality exists. But I like Kyle Rudolph tonight playing the Redskins. They've allowed the 3rd most receptions on the year. Like I said, Rudolph had 6 targets last week. That's the high for him on the year. So a little bit more value for him. The only thing I'm really worried about is a damn Irv Smith stealing a touchdown. Dude's really talented. The guy's really athletic. But Kyle Rudolph, I think, should have some more upside this week. playing the Redskins on a short week, playing at home, all the reasons to start all the other receivers there and all the offensive options there. So like Rudolph, plug him in up against the Redskins. Could come down with a touchdown tonight. Either way, I think he gets a handful of catches, somewhere 50 to 60 yards. Fire him up. Whatever tight end is starting up against the Cardinals this week, whether it's Jared Cook or even Josh Hill. Josh Hill scored a touchdown last week up against the Bears. Jared Cook should be back this week, but he was sidelined in yesterday's practice on Wednesday. So maybe not looking great, but from what I saw and what I'd gathered was last week he was going to sit up against the Bears and he should be back this week. Could be wrong on that. But whoever's starting, I like them in this spot up against the Cardinals. Patrick Peterson is back. Like I said, I'm not concerned about Michael Thomas having any issues, but Patrick Peterson could slow him down a little bit, could open up a little bit more opportunity for passing to the tight end or passing to the secondary receiver. So I like Jared Cook this week. I like Josh Hill. Whoever's the starter there, plug him in for sure. Let's see, the most pass-catching touchdowns in the air allowed to the Cardinals. They're obviously just still really bad. Third most receptions allowed on the year, and they're allowing the most fantasy points to the tight end position. So either one of these guys, whoever's there, start them up. It's just as simple as that. That's it, guys. That's it. That's the Week 8 must starts. Like I said, we're at the about halfway point here for the season, for the fantasy football season. It's time to come on strong for the second half. Time to put up or shut up. And if you're way ahead and you're getting comfy for a nice easy playoff spot, top seed or already trying to lock up your bye, first off, kudos to you. Kudos to you. Tip of the hat. That's awesome. But hey, don't tread lightly, okay? You still have to stay aggressive. You still have to be looking for these guys to add and plug and play. I'm talking to you John Connor owners last year, the teams that were falling off at the end of the year, the teams that didn't have the FOB money to go after Damian Williams at the end of last year or make a trade for Chris Carson at the end of last year, okay? Stay sharp. Stay sharp, stay on your game, still be looking at the transaction trends, the main guys that are getting added. You may still need to be plugging and playing some guys, and don't get comfy because there's going to be some shifts in this league. There's talk about Kareem Hunt getting moved around, Kenyon Drake getting moved around. I'm hearing talks about my Bears running after a running back somewhere. That Cohen and Montgomery aren't the guys to do it. So I think that we are going to be seeing some shakeups on some depth charts, some more moves, some more trades. So stay sharp to the big wigs, the guys at the top of the leagues, and for everyone at the bottom, it's time to get going. It's time to make shit happen. So this is Take It to the Hizzy Fantasy Football. I'm Justin Bruni. I'm your host. This is your Week 8 must starts. If you have any questions, concerns, want to make trades, worry about picking guys up, get at me. I'm here for you. This was Take It to the Hizzy number 17, and I'll see you next time.